So, if we're doing the AFC East, the New York Jets don't have the worst prospects coming into next season, but also like this logo it's still just despair, agony. They haven't changed since the 1950s. Like it's just dreadful and bleak. They're giving Aaron Glenn one more year, and if he doesn't win more than 3 games, he's getting cut. I said this time and time again. They're giving Geno Smith another, I guess, a farewell tour, for being honest, because like the man's not playing another game of football outside of the Jets stint. So looking at it for what the Jets have, right? They still have Brees Hall. They can draft a couple of defensive players to replace the holes that they lost to Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams. They did trade them. It felt at the time too early, but looking back on it now, since that Colts pick is juicy, and the Cowboys pick is also pretty juicy as well, especially if it's going to be next year as well. It looks like they ran off of a haul, essentially. And if they have a new regime coming next year, those picks can be mighty valuable. And they could even trade down next year or trade up if they need to, which I don't think they will. Because the one thing Geno Smith is good at, he is good at being the most average quarterback of all time. And just when you need him to be a little bit over average, he will literally throw an interception every single time he touches the ball. So, guess what? Jets fans, that's exactly what you want. So we're looking at a pretty good, solid future here. We have the quarterbacks. I don't really know too much of the class going into the next draft because, let's be honest, you could be Chambliss, go for your 6th year after suing the school. So you don't know what's going on. But assuming all goes well, you have the quarterback in Oregon, you have Chambliss, you have Manning, whoever's replacing Alabama. Like, there's a bunch of quarterbacks that's coming out that I could just list off the top of my head that I don't know right now, because that quarterback class is going to be stacked. It's not going to be like 2024 stacked, because number one, we have hindsight. Number two, let's just face it, 2024 going into was kind of just, it was mind-boggling. But the next draft class for sure is going to be phenomenal. And if you're a Jets fan, just do what you've been doing for the past 16 years and just hoping for another year of the fireman leading your chants in the crowd every kickoff, for $2 beers because no one's buying your tickets to go to your games anymore. Discounted jerseys because every player who joins the team is an actual icon, ends up leaving or wants to get a trade or is traded anyway. You know, you just have a bunch of things going on. And I feel like it's actually pretty good that the future is more or less set in stone for you guys. Let's just say, hypothetically, Aaron Glenn does a bang-up job. He gets 6 wins. You got to keep him again. So you have to look at it as, we need a new offensive coordinator. Owner's not going to change. Going to need a new basic running back. I think Brees Hall is going to try to literally, I was about to say some horrendous stuff in order to escape New York, but let's just assume he's going to be on FBI most wanted, FBI's most wanted list to escape from New York outside of franchise tag, right? So a lot of things are going to go down pretty bad next offseason for the Jets. But the positive is, like I mentioned before, the next draft class is pretty nice. And also on top of that, this division is so up in flux and such a question mark that I don't think Josh Allen can do another year of next year's year, I promise. Because I know as a Ravens fan, I can't do that anymore. So Bills fans, Josh Allen fans, you guys are on the edge of being where I'm at, on the brink. So watch out for that. And that means give it 3-4 years, Jets fans, you could be in the playoffs again. I didn't say win a game. I said in the playoffs. And that is something that, realistically speaking, should not be words coming out of my mouth, since this is a New York Jets team who hasn't done anything since Aaron Rodgers broke his Achilles. But it's something to consider because, like it or not, they've been drafting pretty well skill position-wise. Like, this is Garrett Wilson, for example. And I do believe in their eye for talent. Whoever's in that scouting position they are cooking. They need to keep their job. Only person who can keep a job in the Jets is the scouting team, for sure. Now, of course, other defensive players, depth-wise, they aren't up to par. But again, skill position, premier players, etc., etc. So, look, just grit your teeth. All right, drink your $1 beers, put your food in Scrandle when you're at the game, and move on. That's it. That's all you got to do, Jets fans. Move on. Next year will be better. All right. The other team that's about as bleak but a bit confusing, the Miami Dolphins. So the biggest news they've done is signing Malik Willis to a stupid, cheap Justin Fields deal. Justin Fields prove it deal, essentially. And if all goes wrong, they can just ship him off and do what the Jets are doing next year and hope they get a quarterback who can Drake May it up, Caleb Williams up, Jaden Daniels year one it up, TJ Stroud year one it up, Bryce Young year five it up. Like, that's what they're hoping for. And if I'm being honest, it is a pretty safe move because the dead cap for the Miami Dolphins, surprise, surprise, is enough for the GDP of several nations. The positive to that is they are cutting bait and they're finally just getting rid of the horrible moves that the previous GM has made. Previous GM was basically, he went on Madden 2026, or at the time, 2023, toggled the speed rating overall to ascending, or descending, my bad, to the highest number, and just clicked off every single person's high speed. That's it. No toughness, no agility, no catching, no strength, no awareness, nothing. Just speed. And then he got too Tagovailoa for some reason. And then boom, that was the team. The team looked flashy. They beat the Broncos 70-20, but that was the highlight of their whole entire stint of that entire roster going on there. That team was always confusing. Like, the narrative of them losing cold games got to the point where people would just stop betting on them when a game was below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And I feel like as a football team whose job is to get concussions every single play, the weather should not be that much of a factor that you cannot win a game. Like, it can be a factor, like the Rams and Seahawks, for example. It can be a factor, or Rams and Bears, not bad, Rams and Bears, but it shouldn't be the factor to lose the game for you. Now, what is the other way or counter to doing that? I've always said either crank the AC up to like 40 degrees in the training facility at your training side, or go somewhere it's cold to train like a week before you're going to go to somewhere it's cold, right? Or fly in early to a facility in the place that you're going to be playing in the week before if it's going to be a road game. Like, I feel like there's so many ways around this because there are plenty of warm weather teams who have made it to the Super Bowl or have made it far in the playoffs where the cold weather has not been a factor. And if it was a factor, it wouldn't have been, like I said, such a hindrance. Now, all this is probably going to be irrelevant, probably not, for the future Miami Dolphins. Because just like the Jets, the next year's a year. However, I feel like Malik Willis being on this prove it deal is interesting because if he doesn't do well here, he's gonna be in a Robert Saleh position, right? Where like he had a chance to show himself off. He did as good as he could with the product in front of him, but he has to go to another team, play backup again, show off again, and by the time he's another baller free agent, be 30 years old. Which is Kyler Murray's age, so I'm not really saying it's a bad thing, but he could have made a better deal. However, I feel like Malik Willis was more along the lines of, I just want some money. That's it. I'm tired of getting paid $2 million to play like one game a year because Jordan Love only gets hurt on like Tuesdays. So it's like, I get it on that front, but it's like, brother, like there are many opportunities you could have had. You could have had the Steelers. Like my dream was either Malik Willis or Mac Jones to the Steelers. Like I knew Kyler Murray to the Steelers wasn't going to work because I just don't see that being a combo that was working out. And also Steelers are going for Aaron Rodgers. That's an entirely another subject for the division video there. But and picking the Dolphins is so confusing given what the situation was. So my only process was the Dolphins offered them that cheap deal. Malik Willis just wanted the money. I'm pretty sure there's an article explaining why he did this. He loves money, blah, 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 all that fun PR stuff. But Malik, they literally traded their only valuable player who you can throw the ball to away to a conference rival who they beat 70-20 like a couple years ago. Like, you are going to win 4 games next year and be kicked off this team and be a backup to Titans again. Like, it's just horrible. Okay, let's predict where Malik Willis is going to go after winning 4 games next year. All right, so let's see. He could go to the Bucs. The Bucs is an interesting option. The Falcons, they explode too. He can go to the Saints as a backup. That's also an interesting option. He could go to the Browns because they always need a quarterback. They're pretty desperate. He could go to the Bengals if Joe Burrow requests a trade to the Rams when Matthew Stafford retires. You know, go to the Ravens if Lamar Jackson decides to quit on this coach too, which very much is possible. You can go back to the Packers when Jordan Love breaks his fibula on Tuesday, like I mentioned before. Like, Dolphins fans, look, you are the Jets now, okay? You have accepted that you suck. It's time to take your medicine. And this is good because that means you can build to prosperous future. Now, it's bad on the other end because that means you have to... How do I explain this? You have to watch a game that you know you're going to lose and not be entertained. Because beforehand, with the Tyreek Hill, with the Waddle, with the Waller, with the Achane, with the Tua, you can go into the game and know you're going to lose, but be like, this is the most cinematic, marvelous spectacle I've ever seen in my life. You're not doing that anymore. Because who is on this team that can provide that much pizzazz? No one. You can draft one or two people maybe to replace that, oomph that you're missing, but it's one or two people out of the potentially 53 you need to make the team interesting. Also, the coach is defensive. Also, the general manager is very Green Bay-esque, which is key word for not hiring any big names. So, yeah. I want to feel bad for you guys, but hey, you know who you are. Everyone in the league saw this team for what it was, and they're finally realizing they are what we thought they were. They are who we thought they were. So, all right. Next team's also a big question mark is the New England Patriots. One interesting caveat I've seen from Patriots fans, i.e. Chris Brockman, another guy at a bar I talked to who's depressed about his Patriots losing the Super Bowl when I read the man Super Bowl as a fan since 2016, is that, well, they're going to have the number one schedule now. Their schedule's going to be so tough and so hard because they made it to the Super Bowl. Their schedule's going to be the thing that should have been the whole time. And my argument against that is, you guys made it to the Super Bowl. You're supposed to have a tough schedule. Why are you complaining about the thing that's going to happen? Like, again, take your medicine. It's about time you realize that tough schedules are the reason why people don't make the playoffs. Like, what are we talking about? The reason why Detroit didn't make playoffs is because they had a tough schedule. Like, what are we doing right now? Anyway, I have to keep my glasses out. I don't have any glasses, so I can't see myself on camera. Oddly, chat, you gotta remind me, bro. You gotta remind me why I can't see myself. Hold on, I gotta fix my camera real quick. Yeah. Editor, cut this out. What do you mean I'm gonna cut this out? What do you mean I'm on editor? What do you mean all this is just gonna be caught and make you seem insane? What? That's crazy. Bum, bum, bum. Alright, here we go, boys. Much better. Okay. So, the Patriots' schedule being a problem is the least of their concerns. While they have replaced Stephon Diggs for the most part, their entire mystique has been red. And since they were last year's Commanders, I can see a fate very similar to that happening as well. They have a chance to make it to the playoffs because this division is going to be literally two teams who are going to be tanked to the bottom to get a better quarterback. So this division is going to be up in the air against the Bills, who have a new rookie coach who's been there for a while, but he's still a rookie coach. And the Patriots, who've been there before, but got so utterly just put to shame, and no one gives them the credit for what they've done in the playoffs. So, like, it's not looking good for them in a sense of the public eye. But I think they're going to be fine. They might win 10, 11 games, maybe. All that matters to the Patriots, like I said for the NFC South, beat the Bills. Sweep the Bills. You're in the playoffs. You're gonna be telling me, oh, it's gonna be pretty hard. They have Josh Allen, he won MVP. Oh my God, he has DJ Moore, elite receiver, blah, blah, blah. Like, you've seen the Patriots defense. The run defense is phenomenal. The pass rush is bonkers. And their pass secondary defense, it got them on lock, right? They know what they're doing. But offensively is where the struggles with the Patriots truly lie. Because if we go back to Super Bowl, like I mentioned before, they didn't lose the Super Bowl because their defense sucked. They held Sam Darnold and Kenneth Walker and JSN and that phenomenal offensive line. It's like 4 to 5 field goals in 3 quarters. Like, that's about as good a defense you can play to like a top 5, top 10 defense offense in the league. Like, you can't play any better than that. I would say they play better defense than the Rams did against the Seahawks. But the dam broke because offensively, you can blame the rookie Will Campbell. But my argument would be, why would you let a rookie beat you out in the starting job, offensive lineman who had a bit longer arms? You know, that's in a different argument entirely. But you know, we're not gonna talk about that. Yeah, like Drake May not being able to read because he got banged up too many times. He's too nervous with PTSD. It's everyone's fault. Stephon Diggs for just yeah. So everyone's at fault here. But my point is this: it's still a winnable division. I still have hopes for you guys. While a tough strength schedule is going to be really key here, because a lot of teams who didn't make it last year are going to be dominant this year, coming up to the next season. This team schedule is going to be very confused. Like they're going to have like the Chargers on their schedule again, probably. Now the Broncos again with a broken foot, Bo Nix, who's a big question mark. They're going to have probably like the other playoff teams in AFC. Who are other AFC playoff teams? The Jaguars, they might not be good next year. The Colts, they might not be good next year. Oh, that's another team. Was a holy moly. I love hating on the Colts so much because like, I was a fan of them until Anthony Richardson just fell off a cliff. But I was a fan of theirs, so I have a lot of juice on the Colts. But let's get over that for whatever reason. You know, they're not going to be too distraught for most of the schedule. But I feel like if they don't patch up the offensive line, you know, if they don't patch up, I guess Drake May being read like a book sometimes in Super Bowl, if they don't, actually, what would be the Patriots' solution to actually cement their, not legacy, but like their weaknesses to make it easier for them to succeed in the postseason and the regular season in general? Because I keep thinking of all these offensive weaknesses, but like, I don't think they've addressed them that much. Like, they signed some pretty good players, but like, it's not enough to like fully go out and say, yep, we're running it back to Super Bowl again with this tough schedule coming up. So that's why it comes down to me is beat the Bills and you have to worry about none of this. That's it. Moving on. The team that I hate to love, but I love to hate. Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills, huh? Buffalo Bills, huh? So we have a team that fired their head coach in the year that it wasn't his fault to fire him. Out of all the years to fire Sean McDermott, you chose the 1 year where it literally was not his fault that they lost in the playoffs. I just find that so funny to me. Like, they waited until like it was literally not his fault. Out of all the years where it literally was his, that blows my mind. So this team, they have James Cook. I believe they signed his deal. They have Josh Allen. They signed his deal, and they signed DJ Moore from the Bears. I don't like that one. They could have gotten Waddle. Waddle's much better. I always want to bash DJ Moore in a specific instance, despite him performing pretty well in Chicago. Well, Chicago has competent receivers to replace him, and them losing DJ Moore wasn't that much of a hit on their system. It was more of like a settling of the Bills, because the Bills is a premier spot for playoff success. They could have gotten a Mike Evans, like I said before. They could have gotten a Waddle. You know, there are a couple other receivers they could have gotten. Debo Sam, just DJ Moore doesn't seem like it would be the answer. Like it seemed like another solid number two, that's gonna be number one in the Bills because they don't have really good receivers. And then when we see them fail in the playoffs again because they didn't get enough pieces to help Josh Allen, we're going to be all the way back here in this offseason being like, wait a minute, but why did they only sign DJ Moore with all the receivers that were on the market back then? What was going on? Look, this is the same GM and head coach and owner who are arguing with each other about Keon Coleman when they all loved him when they drafted him. When I don't know if you guys remember this because it seems like it just got hit immediately when he started becoming a delinquent. But the PR run of Keon Coleman was basically trying to groom him to be the next Ocho Cinco, like personality wise, like all the funny quips he was doing, to tee ha ha moments, to athletic plays he had sometimes. Like they're trying to make him become an icon, a superstar. But you can't have it all, and they're trying to place the blame on that being a bust of a trade, but they're still keeping him on the roster and want him to succeed. It's the whole situation is confusing. I don't know why they are given like one of the best quarterbacks they have has ever touched the football, and they just don't want to give him receivers, bro. I don't this is the opposite of Joe Burrow problem. Like the Bills defense. Well, I blame them for losing the game against the Broncos. Like the defense isn't as bad as the Bengals defense entirely. But the offense is only James Cook and Josh Allen. That's it. And if James Cook has a bad day, they can't win the game. They just cannot win. So what are we doing, man? I feel like I'm going insane by saying DJ Moore is a bad move. Not because he's a bad player, but because there are other players better than him on the market. And if you're Josh Allen, whose prime might end within 1 to 4 years, why are we wasting our time getting someone who would not be a first option on his own team, which is why they shipped him off in the first place? He got beat out by some guy named Burden, some guy who got drafted last year, Loveland, some guy who doesn't play games at all. Oh, Doomsday. What? I'm going insane. Buffalo fans, I know you're hoping and just praying this all works out, but you shouldn't be praying. You should have gotten a receiver who would have got the job done. Now, I did mention Mike Evans, and his injury history is something to be concerned about, but it's Mike Evans. That's the biggest, if it works out, you're going to win the Super Bowl no matter what. And if it doesn't, you're going to be stuck with the same roster you already had that can make it to the conference championship because you've been doing it anyway. Oh my God, bro. Owners and GMs piss me off so much, man. They piss me off so much. It's just it's so easy and avoidable to just. Oh man, look, Bills fans, when you make it to the conference championship and lose again to the Chiefs again, just remember this video, and let me remind you that you signed DJ Moore in the offseason as your big wide receiver splash. I just want you to remember that. Just remember that, okay? Just remember that. We're done. Mods,